Right, here we go. First video on the channel. Hi guys, hi gals. Hope eventually there are some women watching. I love to get women more involved in value investing. So hi, thank you so much for joining me on my channel. I'm just starting out, and your viewership means an incredible amount to me. And so yeah, I'd like to first start out from my first video, talking to you a bit about how I arrived at where I am today, so that you can understand who I am from a value investor perspective, and also to see whether you resonate or not with me and my approach, and also to get to know who is talking to you in this precious time that you've dedicated to watch this 10-15 minute video and the content I'll be creating. So without much further ado, let's get into it. So I've gotten to the point in my investment journey where I want to create content that can help other people, as well as hopefully serve a purpose for myself to kind of fine tune and enhance my own knowledge, as I kind of believe that every day is a school day. And you should be constantly ready to learn, especially in the field of value investing, because it's never stagnant. There's always room for improvement. The investing landscape changes constantly. Technologies change, companies change. Should always, I really like Charlie Munger's quote, actually. A year where you don't destroy one of your best ideas is a year wasted. So anyway, so where did it all start for me? So it started for me about 6 years ago in the 2016 kind of time frame, I think. I had some money saved for me in an investment account from when I was a kid. And then events transpired in my adult years, and I found myself wanting to take control of this money that was in there for me. But how best to do that? That was the big question. Just how? Where do I start? So at that point in time, it was spread across 4 or 5 different actively managed funds, highly diversified across different sectors and the globe. When I first started taking an interest, all of which had management fees attached to them. But what was I paying this fee for? What was I actually getting? I started doing research into funds because I didn't think I was ready for the big leagues of picking stocks yet. That just seemed way too scary. I didn't know it then, but this was kind of the first time where I started to build my circle of competence from nothing, really. I had these funds in front of me, and that was where I started building my circle, my canyon, as Phil Town would call it. My canyon at that time was 1 inch wide and 1 inch deep, not very big. Phil Town talks about the canyon being, you want to make sure that you're 1 inch wide and 1 mile deep, which means you know your stuff really well, but you stay within the walls of your canyon, within the walls of your circle of competence. So what did I do? I looked at what these funds held, looked at how they were exposed, looked at their past performance, who managed them, looking for these things in other funds as well, other funds that were out there. Did I want to change the funds I was invested in? Had I found better ones? I believe I ended up merging the 4 or 5 funds into one fund in the end, after doing a bit of research. I was still diversified. But I wasn't making any decisions about where that money was. The investment manager was. Did his philosophy, align with mine? Did his values align with my values? The companies that he was invested in, that they would have been the companies that he understood and he admired and he liked and he thought were going to do well. Did that kind of gel with me? In a sense, I was investing in the fund manager and their track record. So the fund manager at that particular fund that I ended up in was Nick Train and Mike Linsdale. Those two gentlemen, they ran that fund in the UK. called Linsdale Train Global Equity. It turns out that Nick Train and Mike Linsdale actually run It turns out Nick Train and Mike Linsdale actually run portfolios similar to how an investor you may have heard of, Terry Smith of Fundsmith, does as well. Stock compounder Brad Kellner has been talking about Terry Smith lately. Both of them, Nick Train, Mike Linsdale, and Terry Smith, they run kind of value investing, principles. I wasn't aware of it at the time, but that's what I'd kind of found in both of these two funds. They buy good quality businesses with deep moats and a strong position, and good management with a proven track record at sensible valuations. So what did I do next? Again, I wasn't aware of it at the time, but I had both Linsdale Train and Fundsmith. They both buy good quality businesses with deep moats and a strong position, with good management and with a proven track record at sensible valuations. Does that sound familiar? So I'd found value investors. Anyway, naturally, I started looking into the companies held within the Linsdale Train fund that I found myself invested in. And again, I didn't realize it, but I was widening that circle of competence even further. After a while, I started thinking, yeah, I could pick stocks. No, man, was I wrong. I couldn't have been more wrong. I hadn't had that Buffett moment yet. I hadn't found this community of value investors that I now treasure so much. I may listen to podcasts about value investing now and listen to the Berkshire Hathaway annual meetings from the 90s and love it so much, and try not to cringe. Back then, I was still waking up every morning, going to walk the dog, slapping on my headphones, and listening to the very entertaining previous night's episode of Mad Money with Jim Cramer. Yes, I was actually listening to what the talking heads on CNBC were saying, and listening to the lightning round with buy recommendations being screamed at me. It was entertaining, but that's because it was meant to be just that, just entertaining. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's better to keep it that way, to be honest. There's no need to go down that rabbit hole. It will not lead to long-term wealth, I can assure you that. Just won't. But don't worry, I'm far from that now. But I was a bit too stuck into that. And to cut a long story short, I started buying some companies that I thought were good, with no sound fundamental analysis under that, with no idea of the intrinsic value, basically. The scary thing back then is that I wasn't scared to do it, but I really should have been. As I tell you this now, it just seems crazy. With what I now know, it's no surprise I didn't have huge returns, and I was emotional. I was emotional on drawdowns when the stock prices dropped, and I would find myself watching the stock market every day, multiple times a day, watching my companies. Really unhealthy. Luckily, I didn't lose too much money. Also, luckily, I wasn't invested when COVID hit, because we had a massive stock market crash globally, as I'm sure you're aware of. This could have been a disastrous thing, actually, because I could have become confident in my prediction that the market was going to crash because I was out of the market. Therefore, I thought it was going to go down. And to add to that, I actually shorted the S&P 500 as if I knew what I was doing. But the thing is, it friggin' paid off. I ended up, when the market went down, I made money because I was shorting the S&P 500. But I ended up losing all the money I gained with the S&P 500 short, thinking that I knew where the market was going, thinking that it was going to keep going down into this kind of 2-year long bear market. Well, the Fed had other ideas, obviously, but then bang, I found the person who would change my investing journey forever, and he put me on the path that you want to be on if you want to be a value investor. alongside some of the greats. I don't know how it happened. I think I was on my phone one evening, and I found Phil Town. I've already mentioned him already in this video, but he did form a good foundation for me early on. And if you know Phil Town, then you'll agree that this was an ideal person for me to be finding at this stage in my investing kind of journey. For someone looking for direction and who was inexperienced in value investing, it was a perfect person to kind of stumble across to give you some, give you a guiding compass. Because Phil Town's simplified and easy to understand way of implementing value investing from Warren Buffett, it was kind of game changing for me. And I thought I'd found it all. I thought I had found everything that I would ever need. But naturally, someone as curious as I am, I would come to expand my knowledge and understanding beyond Phil Town. But not before I went deep down that rabbit hole. I didn't stop until I watched all of his YouTube videos, listened to every single one of his podcasts that he does with his daughter, Danielle Town, Invested. Really great podcast. He still does that today. I attended his workshop in May 2020. And then I suddenly noticed my portfolio started to morph. I dropped loads from my watch list as I realized how wrong I was about them. I started actually doing, deeper research into companies that I could understand, looking at all the right numbers and financials and throwing away any old ones that I had thought that mattered, which, as I became to learn more, I realized they really didn't. And for anyone watching this and feels like they're in that same position right now, in the same position that I described, I can't recommend Phil Town enough. You can't go wrong with that starting point, I don't think. He's got 3 books out, but the latest one, Invested, which he co-wrote with his daughter, it's a great kind of summation of all 3 of his books, and I plowed through all of them on double speed in audiobook format, and then the rest is history, really. My circle of competence in terms of companies I could research and the knowledge I was acquiring just exploded, and I had found my passion of value investing. I naturally discovered Guy Spear, Monish Pabrai, Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, obviously, Matthew Peterson, Howard Marks, Rob Vinall, some well-known super investors, some not so well-known, and the list goes on. You're constantly learning. You've got all these great super investors to learn from, and there's lots of stuff to learn. So I initially thought Phil Town was all I needed, but it became clear at some point that Phil Town was like the primary school equivalent, and I had yet to go through secondary school and college. I mean, he could build the vital foundation and give me a compass, if you like. But there were vastly more things to learn. I like to say that every day is a school day, and I really like Charlie Munger's quote: "A year where you don't destroy one of your best ideas is a year wasted." That's kind of my journey up until now. Thank you for watching. For those that have stuck around this far, I've lots to share about valuing companies, what we can learn from these great super investors that have come before us, individual company analysis, and the application of the principles of value investing. That's all to come on this channel, basically. I've been on and I'm still going through this journey, and I would like to connect and share with those of you that see themselves, see some of yourselves in me and my own journey. I'll be sharing things I've learnt, the things that are of interest to me, in the hope that I can build a community of value investors to help each other. I've made plenty of mistakes, and I'll probably continue to do so, but I like to think of those as learning opportunities. Some might be costly, some might not be, but it's like a tuition fee, if you can think of it as a learning opportunity. Plenty more videos to come. I appreciate any and all comments you have for me, and I'll respond to them as quickly as I can, as much as my family life permits. yeah, and I want to build an investing practice, as it were, and reach financial freedom for all my family, so we can really do what makes us happy in life, and have our money work for us instead of working for it. So yeah, please leave a comment and get in touch if there's any particular things you'd like me to talk about. Thank you so much for watching. I can't appreciate your viewership enough. So yeah, let's get out there and become super investors, and I will catch you on the next one. Take care.